Why did Australia spend $31 billion on a rail line that still isn't finished? Inland rail was supposed to fix the country's freight bottlenecks, cut travel times by 10 hours, and reduce long-haul trucking on Australia's highways. Instead, it's become one of Australia's most delayed and controversial infrastructure projects. In this video, we'll break down what Inland Rail was designed to solve, how it actually works, and why costs, community backlash and planning failures nearly derailed the entire project, including the decision that turned a freight solution into a national controversy. Inland rail exists because Australia's freight system had problems long before politicians admitted it. The East Coast Corridor carries most of the country's freight, yet it squeezes through the busiest cities, the most crowded ports, and the same rail lines used by passenger trains. Every delay stops the traffic for hours, every bottleneck costs money, and when something breaks, there is no easy backup. That is the problem Inland Rail is designed to fix. At its core, Inland Rail is a 1,600-kilometre freight rail line running inland between Beveridge in Victoria and Kangaroo in Queensland. It avoids Sydney completely. That decision alone changes the entire freight equation. Instead of threading trains through dense urban rail networks, freight moves through regional corridors built almost entirely around logistics. The service is designed around container freight, not bulk passengers, not mixed traffic. From Beveridge to the proposed terminal at Ebenezer, trains can run double-stacked. That means two containers stacked vertically, something the coastal route physically cannot handle due to low bridges and tight tunnels, and the trains themselves are built big. Inland Rail is engineered for 1,800-metre-long trains, with axle loads up to 21 tonnes. That allows a single service to move far more freight per run. One train can replace the equivalent of around 110 B-double truck movements. Fewer drivers, fewer vehicles, fewer breakdowns on highways already under strain. The speed figure often gets misunderstood. Inland Rail trains top out at 115 km per hour, which does not sound impressive on its own. But speed is not the advantage here. Consistency is. Freight trains on Inland Rail do not stop to wait for commuter services. They do not crawl through suburban timetables. They move long distances at a steady speed, with fewer interruptions. That is how the project targets Melbourne to Brisbane transit times of under 24 hours, not through raw speed, but through route design, saving up to 10 hours compared to the coastal rail path. For freight operators, time is cost. For supply chains, time is reliability. Another key detail often missed is how Inland Rail is being built. Around 1,000 kilometres of the route involves upgrading the existing track. This includes raising bridges, lowering tracks, lengthening passing loops, and strengthening rail beds. This approach reduces land acquisition and avoids building entirely new corridors where possible. The remaining 600 kilometres are new track. These greenfield sections are the hardest, slowest, and most controversial parts of the project. They require environmental approvals, property negotiations, and entirely new earthworks. But they are also where the biggest gains are unlocked, especially where old routes cannot meet modern freight needs. Inland Rail is also designed as open access infrastructure. Freight operators are not locked out. Once sections are complete, they fold into the national rail network managed by ARTC. That means competition and flexibility. This project is not about flashy trains or public visibility. It removes invisible friction from Australia's freight system. This rail runs through the parts of Australia that freight depends on. Let's look at where it passes through. The route begins at Beveridge, north of Melbourne, and stretches inland through regional Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, before reaching Kangaroo, southwest of Brisbane. Along the way, it intersects major freight hubs, agricultural regions, and existing east-west rail connections. The project is divided into 12 construction sections. This matters because Inland Rail is not being delivered all at once. Some sections are already operating, others are still buried in planning approvals. The staged approach allows parts of the line to start delivering benefits before the full corridor is complete. Victoria's section focuses heavily on clearance upgrades. Existing rail corridors are reused, but they need to be upgraded. Bridges that were built decades ago are too low for double-stacked containers. Tracks are lowered beneath roads, platforms are shifted. Power and signalling infrastructure is modified so freight trains can pass without restriction. New South Wales carries the longest and most complex stretch of the route. Large sections reuse existing lines, but the most significant new construction lies between Narromine and Narrabri. This is the longest greenfield section of inland rail, involving entirely new track through inland New South Wales. This section also connects major agricultural zones directly into the national network. This will reduce dependence on long road hauls. Beyond that, the route continues north toward the Queensland border. This upgrades older alignments and smooths curves that limit modern freight operations. Passing loops are extended to accommodate 1,800-metre trains. Signalling is upgraded to handle higher axle loads and tighter scheduling. Queensland is where most upgrades are required. The state's rail network uses narrow gauge, while interstate freight runs on standard gauge. Inland rail solves this by using dual gauge track, allowing both systems to operate on the same alignment. That adds complexity to every bridge, tunnel and turnout. Then come the ranges. To support double-stacked freight, inland rail includes 3 major tunnels in Queensland. The Teviot Range Tunnel stretches about 1,100 metres. The Little Liverpool Range Tunnel runs roughly 850 metres. The Toowoomba Range Tunnel adds another 600 metres. These tunnels replace older, steeper, narrow-gauge routes that could not handle modern freight demands. Without these tunnels, double-stacked interstate freight would not be viable in Queensland. The Northern Freight Terminal at Ebenezer plays a critical role. Double-stacked services end here. From this point, single-stacked trains continue to Kangaroo, where they connect to the existing Sydney to Brisbane coastal line. This design keeps the inland corridor efficient while still feeding into the broader East Coast network. Zooming out, inland rail is more than a straight line between two cities. It shortens rail distances to Adelaide and Perth via connections at parks. It turns regional junctions into national logistics nodes. It changes how freight flows across the continent. But the route also explains why the project attracts conflict. It crosses farmland, floodplains, and culturally significant land. Each kilometre involves trade-offs between national efficiency and local impact. That tension follows inland rail everywhere it goes. Inland rail has faced delays, redesigns, and rising costs for years, largely because it tried to do too much at once without the structure to support it. Early on, there were budget cuts. Communities felt decisions were being made faster than they were being given explanations. That friction built pressure long before it reached the national spotlight. By 2022, the government stepped in with an independent review. The result was the 2023 independent review led by Kerry Schott. The findings were that inland rail was still important. In fact, the review confirmed the project mattered more than ever for freight growth, road safety, and cutting emissions. But it also made clear that governance and management had failed to keep pace with the project's size. Cost estimates had blown out to around $31 billion. Completion dates drifted toward 2030 to 2031, and confidence had taken a hit. The review forced a reset. Instead of pushing the entire corridor forward at once, the government shifted to a staged delivery strategy. The priority was now to complete the most advanced and valuable sections first. That meant focusing on Beveridge to Parks and Narromine, with a target of 2027. This section delivers immediate freight benefits and connects to existing national rail hubs, especially at Parks. North of Narromine, the approach slowed down on purpose. Rather than racing construction, the focus shifted to environmental approvals and land acquisition. The goal was that they were no longer going to build first and fix later. It was a political admission that rushing had cost them so much money. But governance problems were only part of the mess. Community opposition has followed inland rail in several regions. In New South Wales, concerns focused on the Pilliga forests. It's because parts of the route here pass through land with Aboriginal cultural heritage. Local Aboriginal Land Council said consultation happened too late, and that heritage risks were not fully considered. In Queensland, attention turned to the Condamin River floodplain. Critics warned that building through a known flood area could create safety problems and increase flood damage. These concerns led to flood modelling reviews, legal action, and a Senate inquiry that criticised how communities were consulted. Farmers and landholders also pushed back. Many said land access talks felt unfair and that environmental studies were unclear. As a result, sections were delayed, designs were reviewed, and costs increased. Today, inland rail is moving more carefully. Some sections are progressing, while others remain in planning. The timeline is clearer, but it is longer than expected. The project continues forward with its challenges still very much in place. Ultimately, Inland Rail is more than just a track through the red dirt. It is a 1,600-kilometre attempt to re-engineer the very backbone of a continent. Yet, as we have seen, it stands as a stark reminder of how easily a nation's grandest ambitions can be buried under the weight of a $31 billion reality. In my view, while the vision of these land ships is an engineering marvel that Australia desperately needs for a modern economy, the execution has been a masterclass in how to lose public trust. It is a necessary project, perhaps, but one that has been deeply wounded by a lack of foresight and a disregard for the communities it was meant to serve. It leaves us with a haunting question. In our race toward national efficiency, is a $31 billion price tag and the erosion of local heritage a price we should be willing to pay? I want to hear your perspective in the comments below. Is this an essential investment in Australia's future, or is it a historic mistake that we'll be paying for decades to come? And if you're interested in thoughtful stories about architecture, design, and large-scale infrastructure, I invite you to subscribe to Design Zip. Until next time, thank you for watching.